I get this question a lot. Why would you defend someone who lies on the stand? Now, before I answer that, let me be clear. This video is for educational purposes only. It's not legal advice, and every case is different. If you're facing charges, you need to talk to a lawyer directly about your situation. Now, about that question, the short answer is I don't put clients on the stand to lie. I have an ethical duty not to. That's not negotiable. If I know for a fact that a client intends to lie under oath, I can't go along with it. That would be suborning perjury. And ethically, that's a line I simply cannot cross. Now, the rules give us a mechanism for this, and it's called narrative testimony. What that means is if I absolutely know a client is about to lie, I can't ask them the questions directly because that would make me complicit in their lying. Instead, I step aside and let them tell their story in their own words without my guidance. But let me tell you, I've never had to actually do that. And the reason is that I work very hard to counsel my clients not to lie on the stand in the first place. We sit down and I explain how damaging it is, not just ethically, but strategically. If they lie and the jury sees through it, they won't just lose credibility on that one point. They'll lose credibility on everything. And make no mistake, if narrative testimony happens, everyone in the courtroom knows what's going on. The judge knows, the lawyers know, and there's a good chance that the jury will figure it out too. It's basically the courtroom equivalent of waving a red flag that says, hey, hello, this person is lying. So not only is it uncomfortable and awkward, it's usually disastrous for the defense. That's why I make it my mission to prevent things from ever getting to that point. My clients need me to protect them, not to set them up to look like liars in front of 12 people who hold their future in their hands. But here's the thing. Most of the time, I don't know if someone is lying. What usually happens is that there's a mismatch between what my client believes happened and what the evidence shows. Maybe they're remembering differently. Maybe they're clinging to their version of events. Or maybe they just don't realize how damaging certain facts look when taken out of context. When that happens, I have a tough conversation with them. I'll say something like, look, I'm the one person in this whole process whose job is to be on your side. If I can't believe your story because the evidence just doesn't support it, then a judge or jury won't either. That's not me turning against them. That's me being the honest voice they need to hear so we can build the defense that actually works. My role isn't to be a cheerleader for everything a client says. If I just nodded along and put them on the stand, no matter what story they wanted to tell, I'd be doing them a huge disservice. Because if that story isn't true, or if it can't be supported by the evidence, the damage in front of a jury can be devastating. Once a jury thinks you've lied about one thing, they stop believing anything else you have to say. So part of my job is to protect my clients from that outcome. I sit them down and I explain, if you lie under oath, not only is it unethical and illegal, but it will almost always backfire. Judges sense it, prosecutors will pounce on it, and juries are pretty good at spotting it. That's why I work so hard to keep my clients away from that cliff. The safest and strongest defense is one that doesn't ask a jury to buy into something that isn't true. So when people ask why I defend someone who lies, the reality is I don't. That's not what I do. What I do is defend people whose stories don't always match the state's version of events. And there's a big difference. Think about it. The state builds its version from police reports, from interviews that were often done under duress, from lab results, sometimes from surveillance video. All of that goes into a neat little package that looks clean and airtight on paper. But human experiences are not neat and they're not airtight. People remember things differently. People describe things differently. And sometimes the police flat out get it wrong or leave things out. So a client's story may sound inconsistent when you line it up next to the state's narrative, but that doesn't make them a liar. It makes them human. My job is to take those human details, sit down with my client, and figure out which parts are solid, which parts are shaky, and how to present the truth in a way that won't collapse under cross-examination. That's why I spend so much time counseling clients. It's not about inventing a story. It's about shaping the one they already have so that it's honest, supported, and effective in court. Because if we don't do that work, the risk is they go in front of a jury and either tell a version that is inaccurate or worse, try to embellish it to make themselves look better. And that almost always backfires. I once had a client who swore up and down that they wanted to testify in a way that I knew would sink them. We had a long talk about the risks, and by the end, they agreed not to do it. That conversation saved their defense. So the real work of a defense lawyer is not propping up lies. It's guiding clients toward the best, most truthful, and most effective path forward. That's how you actually protect someone's future. Not by asking them to gamble everything on a full story, but by building a defense that can survive the hard questions and the tough evidence. So when people say defense attorneys help clients lie, the truth is the opposite. My job is to stop that from happening because once a lie gets exposed, the whole defense can collapse. The truth, presented the right way, is always the stronger defense. I'm not here to judge my clients. I'm here to stand with them, give them the honest truth about their situation, and make sure their rights are protected every step of the way. I'm Joel Chorny. Remember, you have rights. They matter. Protect them. Stay safe. And I'll see you in the next video.